Call this meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a chance to look at the agenda. Any additions, corrections, or conflicts of interest? If not, we'll move on to the reading of the minutes.
May 5th, 2026. The Board of Supervisors met at 9:00 a.m. with Craig Dozark, Chair presiding. Members present were Schultz, Mulbauer, Dozark, Hayden, and Rosberg. Minutes of the previous meeting were read, corrected, and approved. Taya Vanami with Manning Regional Healthcare Center Recovery Center gave the board an opioid grant update presentation. Mariah Nutt, CDC Director, gave the board an update on CDC economical development and tourism. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Rosberg, to approve the South Parking Lot project with 10-point construction for $84,176.65. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Mulbauer, to approve the alcohol license renewal for 5 Mile House. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Schultz, to appoint Ken Blair as member of the EMSAC. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Schultz, to approve the Central Iowa Detention 28E and bylaws. Remain a former member. Motion passed unanimously. During citizens input, KR Buck expressed his concerns about cabin funds being used for the DNR Lake project that was discussed during the April 21st meeting. Eileen Saylor thanked everyone for attending the Republican event. On motion duly seconded, the board adjourned at 10:45 a.m. Agenda for the next meeting are posted and available at the courthouse on Friday at 4:30 p.m. preceding the next meeting.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, they'll stand approved as read. Move on to supervisor reports. Jean.
Thank you for choosing me first. I appreciate that. I had my first meeting of the official name, Northwest Early Childhood Area. That's our 11 counties that used to just be 3 counties. And so we're moving on. We originally at our last Early Childhood Iowa meeting had kind of appointed 2 people from each of the counties, and so the bylaws now just read that they have 1, so we had to have election of who would make it on the actual board, and I am now on the official board.
Nice.
They had volunteers for officers, and I volunteered quickly so that I didn't get one that I didn't want. So I'm the financial officer. I'll be the one that looks over all of the grants and kind of things, get them ready, which I felt far for.
Very fitting.
I didn't want to be the chair, the vice chair, or the secretary, so I got in there. But it's going to be the board is engaged.
Who is the chair?
It is Rhonda from SAC. And then I believe the vice chair, I did write it down, but I did not grab that scribbly stuff that I had like I normally do. But yeah, it's going to be, it seems more engaged than our 3 county, those that were trying to get everything. So we went through the bylaws, reviewed the draft and adopted it. We have to decide on who's going to be the employee of record, all of those things. We have our state agreement template, went through that, the coordinator contracts and agreements, funding. We will have to budget in Iowa grants for June 1st, just a whole lot of things. So we're getting together every Friday for probably every Friday for the next, until we get all of these. But the good side of it is it seems so much more organized than when we went into the mental health part of it. They maybe learned a little bit from the mistakes, and communication is key. Dawn, who was with not the Lakes area, but I don't have a word for it. She seems very engaged in net, brought a lot to the table. Core contracts for Lakes County renewal. They had kind of lost their standing there for a while, so we're bringing them all back in. Policies, which there's just a whole lot of things that people didn't think about, but we went through all that. We're going to have a meeting on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd. So,
is it going to be co-directors?
Excuse me?
Who will Annette be director, or will be co-directors?
they're gonna work in collaboration until we kind of get it figured out, because they all have, there's just so much that they bring. So Annette was there and so was Dawn. I can't think of her last name. But it seems to, the questions are out there and they're getting the answers. And as usual, funding is always going to have the big two question marks behind it, what's going to get funded and how that's all going to work. And so that's why we need to continue to have meetings and lots of emails going back and forth. And it's good to see Dawn and Annette are very familiar with each other and are working very nicely together. Other than that, I can't think, maybe somebody will think of something, but I also wanted to remind everybody about the Veterans Lunch over in Deloitte today. If anybody can make it, that is from 10 to 2. So other than that, it was just kind of a lot of phone calls, a lot of just people with questions, but you know, it seemed like a really busy. Last night, I volunteered. I thought I volunteered to pull weeds, but I guess I volunteered to paint. The dugouts at the Little League. And so that was fun. They're bright purple now. And we were going to do the announcement building, but
So you didn't have your painting gear on.
that's
You had
exactly what I was.
weed pulling.
I
gear on.
Yeah, so I managed to escape with just a little paint in my hair and a little paint on my pants. But otherwise, it was a bunch of women that got together, and that's our project for women in business this year. And so we wanted to do the announcer stand. We had paint ready to go, but the wood is so rotten that would be a waste of our paint. When you can touch the wood and it falls off, you know it's time. Even we knew we could not paint that. But it was fun. We had a lot of women show up, and we're gonna pick up trash and make that look more presentable. That's one of our projects. So I did that, but other than that, last week went by really
Nice.
fast.
Thanks, Gene.
You're welcome.
Dave.
I had Region 12 last week. Pretty much business as normal. We went over billables, director's report, local assistant report, transit report. I think it was brought up, Rick had asked me, the 2 condos in the Homes for Iowa House in Manila are not getting much for bites on selling those. So I had a little bit of just.
Those are owned by Region 12?
Mhm. The one is Home for Iowa that was prison built. We're gonna bring it in on a foundation. The other are 2 condos right there on the north side of the old school. Talk a little bit about potentially renting them out, but to do that, they need a property manager or somebody that can be there if something happens or you get the phone calls for.
Is there a property manager in rural Iowa? Or,
Somebody that can just oversee them that's
Right.
in that line of work. So I'm kind of scratching my head about
wonder
Who's
if
in-
we would do that, or
somebody in
ask
construction.
Rita? Maybe,
That could be a good lead.
because those are big in the larger communities. I mean,
They hired the mowing and the snow
Right.
removal one is more somebody to be able to call and take the call. Hey, I have a leaky faucet. Can
Right,
you
I mean, my
get
son-in-law had a half a dozen homes in Iowa City, and he had a property manager then, that, right, the renter could at least call them and say, I got this problem, I got this issue, and he would solve it, because my son-in-law at that time was living in DC. You know,
So we're kind of looking at something along those lines. I know they did come to Denison and they looked at a potential home to rehabilitate through some of their funding and rehabilitation programs. That was just a Region 12. I did yesterday also meet with, Ben came down to my neck of the woods and we went over to the bridge they're replacing. Those guys are, I told Kyle this morning, just the bridge crew is phenomenal. They don't waste time.
incredible.
They had it all tore out. They had pilings that they were putting in place yesterday afternoon already, but we met with another landowner close by, Keith Kirkhoff, who wanted to put in some broken concrete farther into his field to help with bank stabilization. It's kind of, he wanted to know how the bridge was gonna look and what he could do and how close. And kind of also, Ben and I talked to him about some Thunder Canyon projects. I think Ben's gonna bring it up Friday when he goes. Some bank stabilization on a couple different areas. Otherwise, like I said, a couple phone calls here and there on some questions and comments. Otherwise, that was about it.
Okay, any questions for Dave? Kyle?
Well, I had a conservation board meeting last Wednesday night. It was pretty short and sweet, but they did approve the initial study for the lake restoration, so they're gonna get started on that, which was the estimated 100,000 cost on
Any
that.
discussion about what KR brought up, I guess, at our board meeting, and it was in the minutes?
In regards to the cabin fund, they did mention it, but I went back and tried to think who would have been on the board back when the original cabin
Oh,
fund
wow.
was
Okay.
established. So I reached out to Mark Segbart, Friday actually, and asked, and he said, yes, he was on the board when the original cabin fund was put together. And if he remembered correctly, the spirit of the cabin fund was to build and maintain cabins. Was how he recalled.
With the intention of it
And
was.
in Mark's,
Right.
dry humor, he says, but he's having trouble remembering things from time to time. But he said that originally that's what the cabin fund was for, was to build more cabins and to maintain cabins.
Did you say, could you zero in then on the date and time so we could possibly look back at minutes on it?
Yeah, he did. He specifically, he got off of the board and became a senator in 2004.
Yeah.
So he said somewhere in there, prior to that, he was thinking 2004, he could maybe start looking back into that, so.
I can go back and look at those minutes that year.
Which one, look at, both board of supervisor and conservation?
Yeah, the conservation's not on mine. The board of supervisors would be. I can look at the board of supervisors.
Well, we had a pretty long conversation in regards to that, but, and him and I, they both kind of go hand in hand. He said, I would like to see the cabin fund be used for cabins. He says, without a lake for the cabin.
That's a great point.
He said the cabins are kind of, he
Right.
said, his opinion is I don't necessarily want to see the cabin fund drain the lake, but yet maybe a portion of it.
Mark said first elected to the Iowa Senate in 2012.
So,
20,
I thought it was earlier.
2012.
2012.
well, all right, but
Could be wrong.
so I think maybe a conversation would be had between this board and the conservation board on maybe using a portion of the cabin fund to help with this project, but definitely not draining the whole cabin fund. Apparently, I think there's room for one more cabin out there.
Would that be used for repair and things like that? Because those cabins eventually will need
Definitely.
something.
No, I mean, it really, it's half, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, that if you take the money out of the cabin fund for the lake, eventually, if we want to build another cabin, we don't have money in the cabin fund, then we have to spend it out of public funds. So we either, tax the public now or tax the public later.
Yeah, like I said, that conversation definitely would have to be had.
Yeah.
They do replenish themselves fairly well. I think 50,000 a year or 40,000 a year goes back into the cabin fund. So if you added another one, you add another 10 to 15,000 a year
In
revenue.
How much is in there now, did you guys say?
240?
240, 250, something like that. So
That's what it costs, 120 to build one?
last one in 2018 or 19 was 130.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, because they don't have basements on it, they're just slabs.
Right.
Okay.
So that
Wow,
was
so-
pre-COVID, so imagine that has gone up quite a bit.
Right.
That quite a larger one than the original two? Is that the one that's got the,
No, the last one was cabin one, I think it's a smaller one, I believe.
smaller one?
I was thinking it was that 2-bedroom, the 3-bedroom one.
Okay, I don't, but the larger one was one of the first, the
Yeah.
loft one was one of the first
Do
ones.
they
First ones.
hire a contractor to stick build them, or do they?
No, they put them out on bids, and John Bex built most of those cabins out there.
Okay,
Not printed copy.
Okay.
I didn't know I did that.
Yeah, you did.
So I think that conversation needs to be had, so I'm not so there was some discussion, but I thought, well, let's try to figure out what the original spirit of the. cabin
Exactly.
fund was.
What's the original intent?
I mean, just like the tower fund here for this tower was to maintain towers, but once it got a certain limit, that the rolled into general fund was with this tower fund. So I wanted to find out what the cabin fund is. That was a Mark's recollection of it was, so.
Understand Mark's recollection, right?
And then I did get back with Kathy Toole about water testing kits, and her guidance was they do not offer them. She said, get a hold of Carrie Kersey and they will go out and test wells for people free of charge, which they do. They offer that.
So we're gonna have people sign up at the fair.
Yeah.
And they'll contact them and go out.
And
So do you think people will do that, or do you
that's
think
my fear.
people will be, boy, what if something's bad?
Right.
That's my fear. That's why I wanted to bring it up. That's why I was kind of, I think the board was kind of like, here's a kit. You test it yourself and.
Yeah.
Right, and then when you get the results on your own,
Yeah.
you figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking of my dad and stepmom, and I think they would like to get it tested, but they are apprehensive about why and what's this gonna cost in the long run. If something comes back that,
I personally have had Carrie, when we built our house, she came out and tested the well, and yeah, it's got some nitrate issues in it, but I mean, it ended at that. She didn't say you have to do anything with it. She said the nitrates were high, which is not uncommon.
should we have her come to a board meeting
Maybe
and
that's
ask her?
No, we haven't talked to her for a long
We
time.
could just have her zoom in too. She's, you know, or she can come in.
Come in person.
Maybe in
Carrie Kersey.
Carrie.
I have
We
her
pay
number.
her,
Do you want her number?
Yes,
we have a 2080 agreement. with her, so.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Just
She's
have
Sure.
her-
been here maybe 2 years ago. She came. I remember that one time when we had that issue on South 59. Did she
Yep.
show up for that?
Yeah,
Well, she comes to our public health meetings, our public
Okay.
health meetings.
she hasn't come give us an update lately, though.
No.
Not much really tell us how many septics and what she's been doing.
She
Right.
does give that to the public health and it's in my packet.
So maybe that'd be the next step.
I can
to
share it
figure
with you.
something out that, to move down that path.
Yeah, send that to me and I'll contact her and we'll get her on the, maybe we can ask her, have you asked her that question about individual? That people could buy a kit and measure
I have not,
individually?
I have
So
not,
that's something we could bring up to her
yeah,
if there's anything like that out there.
yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
I have not
thank you.
asked her that. And the last thing I've had some inquiring, you know, as budget gets tighter and, about vehicle take home. And,
I've had some too.
I don't know of any, but I'm trying to research a policy that the county has in place to establish who or what. You know, law enforcement obviously is exempt from it, so,
Emergency.
yeah, so.
I think IRS code will dictate a little bit how you can't just give, you know, IRS has standards.
Yeah, it's more of an IRS thing than anything,
It's a benefit.
but I think the board should establish a policy on who or what, or who gets to or why.
Following IRS code.
File, yeah. So is that something we want to have Chelsea work on?
Yes,
Or
yes.
at least weigh in on? So that's a
absolutely.
Chelsea question, I would think.
Starts
I don't
there,
think so.
and it could move into a Colin question.
You kind of come into bylaws or whatever you want to say there, SOP.
Whoever, it could be an employee handbook edition and
Something in the handbook.
that way, when people from the public ask us, we, you know, we're just following IRS code and,
Right.
we've established these people, for whatever reason. So now it's kind of like, that's the way it's, you know,
Always been.
you know. like I said, as budgets are gonna get tighter, I mean, we need to
Well, when
clean
you,
some of these things up. I'm
Right.
not trying to
Right.
penalize, but
No.
you know, when you don't have an honest
But
answer.
things have just gone on for years and there's no clear direction, and we just need to put some direction. in
Yeah.
that Policy, yeah,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
and I would think
Like
it
you
would
say,
help
we
with
exempt the,
payroll to have
Sheriff's
that clear
Department.
direction as also, as well. I mean, I don't think,
it'll be easy to figure out because there are rules that guide who gets to take vehicles home from counties and states.
yeah, I'm not exactly sure what them are, but I'm sure we can figure those out. Like I said, I know
Would you like
emergency
me to
response.
Since you're gonna be gone.
okay, thank you.
That's what I've
I
been
will
working
put a
on.
star by her name.
Okay, good.
That's what I've been working on.
Okay, any questions for Kyle? If not, I guess the only thing I was gonna add, I kind of sent out an email concerning that email that I got from Jeanette Clausen about a thrift store and if the county could help fund something like that, since they're losing the thrift store since the church purchased it. I did respond to Jeanette in my email to her that I understood that the pastor of the church wanted to keep part of it as a thrift store and would go before their voters assembly to vote on it as a church to see whether or not they wanted to do that. So I think it's prudent to wait, and I guess I don't think that it's the place of the Board of Supervisors to fund or put any money towards a private industry like that. That's either a nonprofit or for-profit. Just seemed like maybe it's not our place to do that. I guess I just wanted to send it out to you guys so you all knew. I didn't respond that to Jeanette. I just told Jeanette, I just said, hey, I'll send it out to the Board of Supervisors and get their thoughts, and then I'll respond to her. But I was just curious what everybody else was kind of thinking when they got that.
It will be a loss to our community not to have the thrift store for many reasons, and one of them being that it's been a great fundraiser to help with things up at the hospital, and that was owned by the hospital. Those were hospital employees. So it's going to be complicated, but I do believe that it's in the works, maybe a third of that building to be a smaller version of a thrift shop, which is better than none at all. But my own personal self, when I'm cleaning out a closet or whatever, I love just taking it right out there, knowing that it was going to go to a good cause. If we don't have one here in Crawford County, we're all going to be taking our stuff to Carroll, and that's going to go to
Or the landfill.
Yeah, or the landfill, or back in ditches like we used to have. So I think it's a great loss to our community to not have that service. Plus, so many people, can't afford to go to the stores and buy clothes for their kids, and you can have good values, and recycle is what we want to do. So yeah, a lot of more things are going to go in the landfill that could have been sold. So I highly encourage a way to make it happen, but they'd have to be county employees. I don't know. I don't think
And I
we should
think
be in.
Jeanette brought up a good point that I think the thrift store did a really good job of, if people were on the outs and, didn't have any
Right,
clothes, maybe they
right,
just
right.
got out of prison, or
Right.
maybe they wanted to go to a job interview and didn't have good enough clothes that the
Absolutely.
thrift store would give them. They say,
Absolutely.
pick out whatever you want, you can have it.
Yep.
And so it was a good partnership that went on there with the public.
And they did work with 7th Street, that organization down there. I don't know what they call it, that, that
Okay.
you went there
Right.
and you were in need they could give them a little voucher and they could
Was it
go
Lutheran
over.
Family Services or?
Yep, I think that's what it was. But it really did serve a great purpose for our community, and it will be missed.
These are those things that us as a board recognize the need.
Exactly, Kyle.
Now, as we move forward
With our budget situation.
budget, right, that we're gonna have to face these decisions that, I think of it as Elder Bridge and things like that, where the return on investment is great for the county, but are not required by law.
With a $23 million budget, we can't come up with $5,000 to help out someone who really is significant in the community.
Add up all the ones that we're doing.
No, right, that's the
Those are the
5,000.
those are the things that
Right.
this board is gonna be
You're right.
I mean, next year, that's why last week I was leading into the fact that we should probably start looking at the budget for next year right now. Because we're gonna have to make cuts. We generally aren't everybody's best friend at budget time anyway. Next year's gonna get worse.
You know, I had a member of the public contact me and just say, so is the state putting a 2% cap on themselves?
Well,
I did. I said,
Interestingly
no, they're
enough,
not.
they did hack their property or their state income tax, but they haven't hacked their spending.
No.
So that's why they're eating through their reserve, which they thought that they had too much of a reserve, but you know, I mean, I don't know, it's like looking at our reserve. I don't want to get off on this tangent here when we're talking about thrift stores, but we're gonna have to look at that stuff like Kyle brought up, you know, I mean, all these things. To me, if it ain't helping build Crawford County, you know, we're gonna have to really question whether that's our responsibility at this table. Might be our responsibilities personally if we want to take that on, you know, or through churches, you know, talking to the churches and there's, I mean, different things like that. But
I mean, I'm gonna take Jeanette's letter at our next Wesco meeting. I mean, Wesco has they talked about purchasing the thrift store actually many months ago as that who's the place in Carroll, what are they called? It's New Hope, yes, that they own. I think 2 thrift stores and they're both profitable.
Yep.
And so Wesco said, maybe we need to look at that. And then they decided, maybe it's something we don't want to do, but I'm going to at least connect them to Jeanette. If Jeanette's got that 1,000 square foot empty space,
Oh, she has the
that
space.
maybe they could come to some sort of, you know, rental agreement or non-rental agreement, maybe profit share or something like that.
I didn't think about, space is what I was thinking most about, so if she has the space.
She does, they do. Yeah, when they purchase that building.
Okay.
Good conversation, but those are the things that I dread the most moving forward.
But that's the part that I think, to Ty's point, is that we need to maybe be a collaboration, bring some entities together so it's not taxpayer funded. It's
Correct.
funded a different way. And we can be that collaborator. We can bring that with those parties together.
Well, as your history dies, you know, this board did a lot of that.
Right.
In the beginning years, they were the ones that sat and said, how to give you 2 bundles of firewood. You know, the line was out the door. It was my vision of your history lessons.
Yeah.
Of what the early board of supervisors, people, well, I need a bucket of coal so I can keep my family heated.
Yeah.
You know, this winter.
Well, like Ty always says, we'll have to think outside the box and get creative on how to
Well,
make it work.
I think I'll run and talk to her because, as the thrift center is, you know, they have all of these racks and all of these things where are they gonna go? And if we're thinking about keeping those things in Crawford County, we need to act before they end up over in Carroll County.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, because they have to have that building empty. And they've got racks and invented the wheel out there. We hate to just see it all go to the landfill or, you know.
And I sent that out. I mean, Jeanette's got, you know, she's been a great volunteer, and not just volunteer, but a paid person for a wonderful organization her whole life. And she's been
Yes,
integral
passionate,
part of Crawford County.
passionate.
And I think for somebody like that has a thought or a comment, it needs to go to the.
Definitely. Thanks for bringing that up.
Put her on my list of people to get on.
Okay.
I think that's the facilitating. Like you brought up Westco.
Yeah.
Facilitating some entities that way. You never know, it might grow in beyond that, you know, and like I said, Carol's is profitable.
Very
But-
profitable.
And Clay is brilliant at organizing things, so
And they would have. the
somebody could make it
possible-
work, it'd be him.
And they would have possible staff to use,
They would. Right.
because currently I think Wesco goes out and helps, move things around and, I believe they do.
Could be a really good win-win.
Win-win-win.
I agree.
So, Ty.
Okay. I was moderately busy
Good.
and I didn't even have to leave the state. Supervisor meetings, last week. Mostly Thursday. Friday, we talked a little bit in the morning and I'll talk for most of the morning, but, I'm not sure I want to divulge any of that yet because it was all kind of, I mean, it was Lucas talking about, he just hasn't had time to do a deep dive because he had other stuff, you know, when they get out of session, especially late like that, he's still sorting through that.
Well, it's been, what, over a week since the legislature's passed it. Yeah, we haven't seen anything from ISAC about what does this bill actually do.
Yeah, you know,
And so I've told people, I just said, there's so much there that we haven't even got an update. Our people that are experts with ISAC haven't even sent out an update yet. I mean, that tells you how inclusive that bill is or how in-depth it is. And they were still wondering, what are the consequences? What does it really mean?
and then Lucas is kind of the sole. I mean, Andrea does it too, but she still runs the whole organization down there. So I mean, Lucas has got to go do all the sorting through that, and they were still altering stuff and reworking things on Sunday. You know, so I mean, there's things to get through yet, and he did talk about like 718 still in there for till 27 sometime. I mean, it's just going to be a menagerie to get through here. I really. I mean, it's just going to be a pain to get through yet. So I really don't want to talk too much about it because I don't even know if I'm saying so.
Right, Ty.
To be retracted.
That's right.
Yeah, I have to come back.
When I've had the public talk to me about it, I'm the same thing. I've said, I really don't know what exactly it's going to do.
I mean, I can hit some basics. 2% is going to be our spending cap on the generals, or I should say on the basics, rural and general basic. They did leave supplementals basically like they are right now. So what we know now about supplementals, we know. So.
And we don't know what the 35% reserve
don't know
limit
nothing
is
about that
based
yet,
off
Dave.
of.
That's
You
still,
don't know what you don't know,
yeah, that's still being sorted through.
my favorite thing.
So, I mean, there's nothing I want to say about that because I promise you I asked that question because that's been important to me to figure that out because protecting our reserves, especially in times of, we can't even call this limited growth. I mean, yes, it's a 2%, but when you consider that we had a really good year this year, you know, coming off of 7s to 9s and percent, you know, for cost of living growth. You know, cost of living, those growths being up there at 7 9s, and we were staying down on an average of 3.25 for our budget growth. I mean, so we're pretty good at that. But now we're going to be limited to 2%, and we're pretty across the state. We're really good at that.
Mhm.
I mean, staying low as possible and still taking care of things that now we're going to have to question.
The other thing to
We're going to have
me
to question workforce.
that we don't.
We're gonna have to question machinery. We're gonna have to sit down with department heads and really go through this.
And it'll be interesting to see how this affects the assessors. Because if we're just limited at 2% of our previous budget, do valuations mean anything moving forward?
Well, they're still gonna mean something when it comes to, especially new development.
New development.
I mean, they're still gonna have something there and we're gonna have to, you know, here's one thing about it. And I'm gonna say this, last night I'm kind of bouncing all over hell here, but last night I had a meeting over at CDC with Mariah, you know, and personal, just her and I, you know, she's setting it up with board members and I was one of the first ones to jump in there and say I'd have a visit with her because we were working on some other stuff and we still may be. I think she's got potential off the wazoo. You know, I've been thinking that we had a 5-year deal before we had to worry about Smithfield rolling up there. You know, and I'm not going to talk a lot about them because I have no inside knowledge. So, I mean, but it could be as short as 2 years before they decide that they want to close up an outlying plant and nobody knows anything. So I'm not implying anything here. So don't panic. But it's our job to look at worst case scenario and make sure we're preparing for it. Mm-hmm. And so just per se, it was ours, you know, where are we at, you know, that's going to limit growth big time, or we have to be prepared for something else. So we need to really look at development. So, I mean, we're at a stage right now where all we're gonna talk about the rest of this year is cutting. But there's some things we gotta consider nut cutting and maybe expanding. So we might have to cut somewhere else in his development and finding somebody that's not learning the trade, but is the trade. I mean, these are things we're gonna have to talk about, you know, on the county level, because if one of our major, you know, employers cuts bait, that's not gonna just affect Denison. It's affecting the entire county, because every town in Crawford County's got somebody that works in that plant. So, I mean, my first goal is to see what we can do to keep them. Make sure they want to stay. That's my first objective. And I say mine, that's what I'm telling people that I think that we need to be
So is
focused.
Mariah in contact with the upper management?
No, I mean, she's by herself in a building trying to take care. That's my point.
And the past CDC director wasn't either.
No,
It's my understanding that we'd be the last to know, even if they do know, they're not going to share that with.
you mean Smith?
Smith.
Oh, yeah, they're not gonna
No,
talk.
even if they're planning on closing tomorrow.
Yeah, they don't want everybody bailing to
No.
jumping ship.
So we're
So they're never gonna
We're
tell
gonna
you.
never be pre-warned. It's gonna be tomorrow.
So we gotta work on the what ifs. You see what I'm saying? What if, and then we gotta look at worst case scenario and best case scenario and figure out a path to accomplish both. and
Gene,
be
you were
flexible.
right, look at Tyson. That's
Right.
Exactly how
That's
they
the
did it.
example of that. And over it reduplicates
Yeah,
itself.
sadly, we're experienced here.
We are,
Mhm.
we are.
And
Does anybody, my fear is though, I mean, that's one of the fear, but as a county, I fear that does new growth consider annexation?
yes,
Well, yeah, it would annex.
So what's gonna stop these communities from,
right. I think cities are gonna be a big,
From annexing if we help develop something.
just general annexing to keep their budgets
Yeah.
growing or?
They've gotta have something to annex, so they can't just annex property for the sake of annexing, stealing ground for taxation. I think if you're gonna annex,
is new business.
Yeah,
what's that?
I said annexation is new growth, new
Yeah.
valuation. So,
But they have to be doing something, like if they're gonna build a new housing area like Manila's doing down there. I
You
mean,
wanna
that's
annex
where
Harrison
annexation. I don't think you can annex farm ground just to have tax, increase your tax rolls.
I think the city of Butte is looking at grabbing some of that new co-op is built in that is outside the city limits.
Yeah.
Which I encourage, I mean, in talking to me, I said, well, you should. I mean, they're the ones abusing their streets.
so how does that affect the county?
Take quite a bit of revenue out of the county's coffers and the
Exactly.
city's coffers. But the city of Butte is the one that experiences the biggest wear and tear on their streets with all the truck traffic. So I get it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
So they're annexing just farm ground to annex.
well, I think that new bin site and stuff of that nature that is outside the city limits.
But they're annexing thing.
And I-
See, I remember talking to one of the mayors once, and they even mentioned like where I live,
Well, that's another,
annexing up there. But, you know, I mean, there's not a lot up there where they can annex. I mean, they could,
Are you in the city limit?
no. But, I mean, they could potentially, they provide services to one, actually, I like to do my trash and we're hooked into the water,
mhm.
you know, but I do my own sewer and stuff, but I don't know. They could,
I see some of that happening.
they could.
And as the initial stretch that rubber band out.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that could be something that they do, which would then cost us, you know, because right now my taxes go to the county.
Mhm.
They could end up going to the city, which,
But I think you're spot on, and the bigger picture though is,
we've got to do development, period. Because if we're not growing the industry and you know, heavy commercial, and I don't just mean more restaurants and more bars. I mean, them are nice. They create quality of life. They create a necessary service, you know. However, we've got to be looking at more than just those things. I mean, and you know, the latest thing we had, you know, you contacted me about, I think we kind of fell off of that because we just couldn't find a place to house them for what they were looking for space. And, I don't know where they're gonna end up, you know, so I don't know. Paul was actually working on that one rather diligently. And so I don't know
Did he
if they'll
take
end
it
up
with
in
him?
Harlan.
That's-
I'm just saying, I don't think, I'm just making a joke about that. I don't think he'd do anything like that
Okay,
intentionally. But if they'd have a place, because we just didn't have a place for them. We didn't have the square footage in one building that they were looking for. And you know, that's when it comes to development, having spec type sites, having sites first. We don't have anything that's got, and then that includes, you know, where you got at least water lines and stuff and sewer lines running to something if you need sewer out there. But then you also got to have the one thing that's the hardest to get. I mean, running the water out there from rural water or from a municipal utility is not the big challenge. The challenge is being able to get the componentry for substations. And it's a 3 to 5 year deal there.
So it kind of brings up to the point, Ty, that you brought up earlier, is that when we have an organization that's looking at coming into the community, we don't have a facility for them. Should we as a board start a facility fund where we put money in there towards that? And then since we have a reduced budget, do we then take the money away from some of those organizations that we currently are giving money to? Because we want to promote growth in the
Things we
county.
gotta think about. I mean,
Right.
it's a painful thought at times.
It is a painful thought.
I think Mariah's got some potential to rock for this community, but you know, and I'm gonna get calls about this. I guarantee you I'm gonna. But this is where we gotta think about, is CDC primarily, now I'm gonna tell you Mariah's not at this point, by what she's told me yesterday, but that board, everybody on that board either lives or has their business in Denison. So where's their focus gonna be? And can't fault them for that. And you know, I mean, what if you go over to the CDC in Charter Oak or down in Manila, their focus is their communities. And I'm not wanting to stop that. But you know, when we dump, terrible choice of words, thank you. When we forward money for tourism to Denison, Denison's part of our county, there's no doubt about that. But so is Manila, so is Charter Oak, so is Schleswig. How much are we giving to them? These are things that we may not be able to afford to give to anybody.
Right.
Okay, and quite frankly, cities are gonna take a beat too. But if we want to get development going, we don't have, you know, and Mariah's gonna try to take this on, but if we still don't even grow that past the 3 people, she's not gonna have time for all this. That's gonna be overwhelming, and you know, she's strong-minded and she's strong. But boy, oh boy, that could get overwhelming for anybody. I don't care who you are. We don't have a planner developer / grant chaser. I mean, she's not gonna have time for all these things. So maybe that's our role. Is that person that's a planner developer, and I'm just making suggestions here because we got to start doing that. Planner developer and somebody that can actually assist all of our communities, because we need them all to grow. They're going to need to grow to be able to pay their bills, or you know what the next thing is? And I don't think we're thinking this far down the road yet, but who pays for Boyer?
My annexation thing is not gonna be a problem.
We're going to end up with all these communities on the county roll. That's my point.
that's what
So-
Gene Myers warned about with all this property tax change.
Exactly right, Dave.
I think that's a good point. I think my annexation problem is not as gonna be a big of a problem as these communities becoming unincorporated.
Because if they annex, they still got to pay for that. It's a short-term blur if it's not a growth thing. If you're just stealing from your neighbor's kitchen, you're going to eat that. Yes, I'm saying that, it's gone.
okay.
Well, it's not the sewer, but it's gone. It's fertilizer. Right. But that's my point. You know, I mean, you gotta look beyond it. We've got to find a way to develop Crawford County. And one Crawford County is how we've got to start thinking. We've got to start thinking as a county, not just individual birds within our county. We gotta really start focusing on how if we're gonna compete in this century with especially the restrictions that are getting laid on us. Yes, we're gonna have to work with other counties on some of our services. That's a given. But we're gonna have to work for Crawford as one county, whether it's in EMS, whether it's in development, whether it's in our fire services. I mean, we're gonna be on our own here. You know, I mean, just they're gonna burn through their reserves down there in Des Moines pretty quick in the Golden House. All right, they're gonna burn through them pretty quick, and they're not gonna be any help to us. Our tower system has got to be our example. We are self-sustaining, and if we don't make ourselves self-sustaining in all aspects, we're just gonna be beggars on the street. So, I mean, to me, that's what we need to think about. Why we still have our reserves that we can use to help us. By God, we better get busy helping us. That's just my thought. Sorry, I'm been here this time.
Thanks, Simon.
Don't take this as a negative. Just take this as this is what we need to start thinking about this year.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
No, I take that. It's,
Sorry, I didn't get on the other.
I mean, I think it's encouraging when I look at other county board of supervisors that talk about things. I think we're a rare board that we bring these issues up to talk about in the public eye. Because I mean, I've watched the Polk County supervisors.
They just go
They don't
through
say,
and
they don't say a word.
They just.
And
You're
I
right.
mean, I had a member of the public said, your guys' meetings always last a couple hours. What in the world, why? And I said, well, part of it, the most important part, I said, is the supervisor reports. I said, we talk about what's going on in the county. And it's important to each one of us as supervisors. And I think it's important to the public out there to hear from us about what we see and what we envision. And so I love our supervisory reports. I'm glad we do that. A lot of supervisors, board of supervisors do not do that. And if they do, it's extremely brief. And we do it until we get to the county engineer who is on right now.
There's four independent minds that I need to talk to when I'm thinking about these things as you guys. But when we talk about it here, we get it, the whole world brings it back.
Right.
I mean, my phone will call about this, I promise. And but it gives us ideas. I mean, whether it's Cindy talking about how to structure a budget or, I mean,
Right.
people bring us some great ideas. And we just
Right.
gotta keep.
I mean, that was the discussion I had yesterday with a member of the public was that, you know, we're a board for a reason, is we think that we have 5 individual minds that we think of things that other people don't think of. But I said, there's some many times that we come up with an idea and then the member of the public calls us and we go, you know, we never even thought about that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention because it didn't even, between the 5 of us, we didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
No secrets, what we're thinking about.
yeah,
I'll just follow up on that. I told Ty the other day on the phone, I commend you guys as a board. You're a very engaged board. I think most people don't realize just how much you guys are really out there, you know, looking at the issues and really addressing them. And you know, I commend all, you know, it's very engaged.
Thank you, sir.
It's refreshing. Well, to start, I got a Western Iowa Power Cooperative as a utility permit just to do a electrical service line. WM. Yeah, down just west of Highway 59, just a road crossing with the electrical service line. So, the HMA project, we did a pre-construction meeting last week. I wasn't able to attend it, I was at a funeral, but Casey, area inspector, he was there as long with Damon being on his side of the county, was able to meet with the contractor and mainly kind of going through the DOT, you know, with what they are requiring for sampling and testing and their requirements. It's more for Casey, you know, to make sure he has all his ducks in a row with what needs to be done there and what he needs to collect for to be able to close out the project and as it's going on. So I'm glad he had the opportunity to meet with them even though in my absence. And really the schedule, they're still looking at that end of June timeframe for starting. Their late start date is the June 6th or 8th, I believe it is. I can't remember the exact day, but that is when their working days start. So they have 80 working days, but they'll have no problem getting their work done in the midsummer months, even their days start earlier. So, but so that is still their plan. really, until we get started with it, I can't imagine any issue. I think Tim had talked to Frontier, called somebody on that as far as filling them holes on the side of the road there. They're either gonna get them addressed or we're gonna address it for them. They're gonna be filled before that project starts. So they're aware of that. So,
So if we do it, we build,
we certainly probably should, yeah. I would have to say if we gotta fill their holes in for them, I would say yes, yeah, so. I mean, it's not gonna take
right, I understand that.
a minute, but
Time.
prefer they just take care of this.
But if a private company, has a job to do and they don't address their job and we have to do it for them, from a public standpoint, the public should bill them. And the private
Man
company
hours,
should pay.
material and depreciation all should be part of it.
Yeah.
The worst of it is, I think the fiber splices are still sticking out of the ground.
Which I think, to my knowledge, they just need to be put in the ground and filled in.
You're probably right. It's just,
So, if they're aware of it,
just finish the job.
I think they're aware of it now and they're,
Okay.
hopefully they just get their butts out there and get it done. So we do have that, but other than
I
that,
have found other avenues that we've farmed around their line for a while. Just a phone call, the Iowa Utilities Commission seemed to get their attention also.
well, we had a lot of fiber going in over the last couple of years. And they have a separate company come in and put all the, install all the conduit or basically, and then different company coming in to feed it all through and do all the connections. And I don't know, they just don't get their schedules together. They got one company just coming in and getting it all done, but they had them damn orange conduits sticking out of the road for how long? And yeah, well, I know we finally told them, quit waiting around and just, they're gonna leave them there, play them, we gotta do our job, so.
That's right.
And, but not to be,
Not be mean.
not to be that way, but we gotta be able to do our job, so, and they gotta be aware of that, so. But yeah, as far as the HMA project, I don't foresee any issues.
Let's not mess up their fiber and then have asphalt sitting over top of it and they're digging up our asphalt.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that is a point, because I think what we're dealing with is where they buried that fiber where they weren't supposed to years ago on the shoulder of the road, that will be eventually covered up because we're widening the.
What's gonna happen with that fiber is it's supposed to be put down into the ditch towards the bottom with box in it. So that's what they're waiting on their engineer design person to actually get that accomplished and send a contractor.
Okay. We'll continue to.
But the thing would have, thinking back, I remember Paul was upset about that because they were burying their fiber on the shoulder of the road that day, and they were never supposed to be burying it there to begin with. They wouldn't be in this situation if they would 4 years ago or whatever would have done what they're supposed to do to begin with.
Yeah.
Funny how that all plays back to haunt us later.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Circle.
We'll keep on. Great crew, they're still on F Avenue. They got a couple weeks up there yet, I'm sure. Then we're looking at, they will be moving around the corner to 110th Street. After that, what we do, Ken, I think he contacted me the other day, wondering if we're getting down that direction. I'm not sure yet. I don't know what someone said to him, somewhere along the line that we'd be doing it first thing this spring, but he's hoping we could get it down there sooner than later. I'm not sure what he's got going on that neighborhood, but we may move down that direction, get that intersection shaped up. We know we gotta do it at some point after we finish up F Avenue and where we're at right now. We'll sneak down there and work on that intersection. I'll have to follow up with Kent here.
I think when you and I met with him, we just told him that it may be spring, but it could be summer. It all depended on the projects we were working on.
I don't ever, yeah, possibly. I mean, just in general talk.
Right,
I don't think we
not
ever
an
really give them a set, we'll have it done by this
Right.
day, really didn't have a schedule per se, but we'll get down there. We knew we have to, we knew we want to make it down that direction, so we just really down to know when or where, just what's gonna work out best, so. But we are gonna finish what we're up to. We're not gonna drop everything and head down that direction by any means, but that'd be a good one to get done. And we'll see about getting it going sooner or later, so.
Off his hill to his barn.
Okay.
It's a real steep to get on there and just kind of bringing it down.
It's a bad approach on the highway, unsafe approach, and we're gonna address it. And it is our road. It's I know it serves, you know, just himself down at the bottom of the hill there, but it is our road, you know, same as this dirt road up there. It's our road, even though it serves only a few people. So we still got maintained as such, and if we got an unsafe condition, people coming out of there, we do have to address
And he
it.
does
So,
open up his barn for women in business and different events.
Right.
right.
And there's
Christmas
There's
is
traffic
more than
out there.
normal, going in out just one person, you know.
Working on the bridge down there on 390th, met you, so up there.
Pretty impressive what they can get done in a day.
Yeah, really, they're not gonna be there long. Like I said, a single span bridge of that nature, it's pretty straightforward with our bridge crew, right? I mean, they can get some work done. I tell
Were you there when Keith, I think it blew his mind, he was asking Zach, he said, well, what are you gonna be here, 6 months or better? Zach laughed and said, 2 or 3 weeks, and he just couldn't believe it. You have this all done in 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good project.
And how many different counties would be paying someone to do that?
A lot,
To do that.
a lot.
Yeah.
It's really, we're ahead on the bridge compared to a lot of other counties across the state on our bridge replacement. We're way ahead, actually.
And the good thing is we got a tried and true design on how we do our bridges. Steel substructure, steel I-beams, wood deck. You know, you do have a little bit of wear and the, you know, maintenance on that deck, but I mean, that's hopefully 20 years down the road. So I mean, you get a lot of lifespan on a lot of these places.
So you're saying not every county designs bridges the way that we do?
The way that, not to say anything, but the way that Paul had us set up and design bridges the way that we do, yes, we're set up a lot better than other things.
We got
Yeah,
a
there's not to say that other counties don't have good design going on for them. They probably do build a standard bridge, a lot of them. But you know, other guys, they want to build a unique bridge. Cannon County up there, I know that gentleman builds a different style bridge every bridge and does a bridge tour, you know, to showcase, you know, the different designs he has. So it's just, you know, we got a system that works good for us.
In one county?
And we're able to really get a lot of infrastructure replaced, cost effective. It just works. So we've got a good design. So.
blue collar county doing blue collar work.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing flashy, but it gets the job done. So it does what it's supposed to do.
Kind of what we're about.
No, I put our bridge crew, and you know, up there with any of them. So, well, that's where they're at. Roadside, they're still seeding this week. They'll finish up that, and then they'll get to mowing ahead of Memorial Day here, and they'll be mowing and spraying the majority of the summer there. So, F Avenue, where we're grading currently, the landowner does want to upgrade that road from a level B to a level A road, a graded surface road. He's going to put forth the initial cost of those limestone and gravel to get it there. I know I've always said, you know, not every road is a candidate, but that is one that would provide some connectivity for gravel road. Basically, give a gravel route all the way over to that L 51 there, all across F Avenue there. It does make sense to do that road in my mind. He's willing to afford that initial cost. It does mean that we maintain that as a gravel road from here on out. So it's always a decision for a public hearing, of course. But I mean, the work we're doing on the road to shape it up, to get those banks down, and to keep it from lowering. I always think in areas where it makes sense, I think it's a great thing. Now, I wouldn't do it on a dead end or road by any means, but a road of that nature, I would say, yes, in my opinion, it's a great thing to do, but get it gravel, and that way it's maintained, so. Just put it out there, we still have to try to give them an estimate, for a granular servicing agreement that you would have to be agreeable to the cost that would be. Ultimately, your decision whether or not to upgrade from level B to level A.
What is our yearly cost for a mile of gravel? What's our maintenance cost for 1 mile?
Blading, and I suppose we put probably somewhere annually, about I'd say about 100 tons per mile. That's about fair. About 100 tons per mile on our gravel roads. When we do our gravel haul, that's about what we figure. Some roads need more, some roads need less. But figure about that 100 ton a mile. And of course the blading and the regular maintenance of it. Of course, there's always a cost involved. I'd have to really punch the numbers.
I'm just curious about the maintenance. The other thing is like in a lot of addresses I talked to you about, Dave, and when we do a nice job shaping up dirt, if we don't do something to hold that, then in time, you're going back and doing major surgery on it again, or you got to do a lot of maintenance on it continuously. I think that there's some benefit if, like you said, it creates the connectivity that's necessary, that benefits more than one person per se to invest that kind of money here.
Right. Progresses, we are going to go back and shape that up and try to get that seating to take hold. I'm not sure why we just can't get that one to stay put. We're going to probably look at a little more check down. We did look into a little bit of limestone to rip wrap as opposed to the supports. Cheaper material. It doesn't need to be forever stone in those ditches. It'd be better if it wasn't. So we looked at some of that. That we've been doing a few loads of that for our ditch checks. But yeah, it probably we'll be putting a few more in along there. So, but yeah, like I guess for F Avenue up there, that is on the table. We'll get them a servicing agreement for him to review and see if he's agreeable with the costs. Go from there.
He's got the last 3.25 miles of that F Avenue down we have a straight gravel road from one end of the county to the other. F Avenue is one of the unique roads that goes nonstop from one end to the other.
All the way across, doesn't it? You're right.
The 3/4 mile that we're doing for
Probably 3.25 miles of F Avenue, that'd be dirt.
I think it'd be all gravel if we do this
No,
this dirt portion.
no, I go north to Dickinson and west or east. There's second mile and then.
Oh, yep. Well, I just update that map for you. But yeah, I think it'd be a good road.
Oh,
At the end of the day.
When you buy in like that. Get it done.
What's the biggest we can make that, man?
Oh, that.
That's the biggest.
That's about as big as our plotter is. Otherwise, we'd have to go out to a different service, I guess.
It's not big too often to get one that's permanent. So.
That's true. Things change the roads change. All the orange lines, some of them change, something changes every year. So, but
That's 12 years old.
yeah,
That man.
yeah, we can get a new one. Things have changed. Gravel, that will be getting after Memorial Day. Just we got 40,000 tons of the Hampton to start with. That's where they'll kind of begin covering that side of the county ahead of doing our L51 project. 10,000 ton from Wall Lake and then 70,000 from Big B Stratford up there. The directions that it's coming from. We always try to leave some up there at Hampton, and they can always grab out of Wall Lake just for our guys to come home when the gravel haul's over, and just keeping random his wheels moving. Always leave probably somewhere in the magnitude of 8 to 10,000 possibly.
Is that typical, 120,000 ton?
That is typical. I know we did more last year, the year before, more around the 150. That's because they had come up with some material down at that Dedham pit that worked out well for covering that corner of the county. It just kind of came up as being available to us at a pretty good price, and we took advantage of it. We purchased a little bit more and got our stockpile.
Because when you mentioned before that about 100 ton per mile, and if you got roughly 1,000 miles of, what do we got, 900 miles of gravel roads? I mean, at 1,000 miles, that'd be 100,000 ton, and we're doing 120,000 tons. So
Yeah.
we must be increasing our reserves just a little.
I have to say,
Or that's about what we use.
I'd have to say that pretty much goes on the road.
Okay.
It's yeah, I anticipate pretty much 100% of it going on the road. But there may be some, depending on how the roads are looking, they'll kind of spot it as they need it. But we pretty well go through it, and that's going to be the most cost-effective time to do is during the gravel haul, putting it on the road
Where fuel prices are the highest.
Yes, they are. So that's something I was going to look at today. Just how much that's increasing our.
I wonder if we could use
gravel.
mud flap.
What's that?
Mud flap, I use that for my trucks to keep fuel costs down. Use it, yeah, it's just
We
a
use it
joke,
too.
sorry.
It's an app. Yeah.
It's an app that gets the buying power of a bunch now, so it gets the prices down.
Use it. They get our fuel charge from Central
When we're
Iowa.
hauling out of Dedham, then Manning's
From
will
Central Iowa
Casey's
haul
is a
gravel,
lot of times has that cheaper
17%
fuel.
fuel charge.
I believe that. Yeah. It's gonna have an impact.
I mean, that's what we're gonna, be dealing with moving forward. There's so many, when we're capped at 2% and the country's at war with an oil provider in the world.
Yeah.
And so our oil prices go up, our gas prices go up unsuspecting to what we budgeted for. And now we're dealing with that issue on top of, other stuff. And it's just gonna be tough.
The silver lining though, is we bid our overlay project when oil was cheap.
Exactly, right.
It is
Right.
a bit of silver lining on that. Total number of
Right.
times.
Yeah.
And that's
You're
a
right.
big
We
over.
bid that at the
Very
right
right.
time. So,
Hopefully they don't come back saying halfway done, we're broke.
It was a real deal.
I have to think they look things.
Hopefully they do the same
Right.
thing, and they price fuel ahead, got their own full and.
And just, the progress up there on Don Reed Road Bridge, really not a whole lot of movement. We're still working on final designs on it, but
Still looking at 27, right?
Still working on that 27.
Okay.
And biggest thing is gonna be acquiring the necessary right of way. That's the biggest thing to go for right now, making sure we acquire the right of way that we need for permanent easement and temporary construction easement. I know that there's we have JCG Land Services doing the acquisitions for us and doing the negotiations for us. A little bit different for animal bait, urban and kind of more of an industrial, commercial areas. So we versus, we would do it ourselves as they are colder out in the countryside, but it takes a little more. You want a little more professional land negotiations company on a bridge of this nature and in city limits dealing with commercial businesses. They are doing the acquisitions for us. They're currently, they haven't met with our landowners. I know, we do have a fence that a newly constructed fence that is in a portion of where we need some permanent easement.
I seen that.
I think everybody's, I think parties are agreeable to removing it, replacing it, and reinstalling it back. It's unfortunately, I'm sure going to be at the cost of the county and the city to do so. We didn't have that easement acquired yet, so it's construction on his property. So there's that, and I know there's concern. I believe I'm sure has concern as far as his customers being able to have access in and out of his place of business, or himself having access in and out. We're gonna work with our consultant designer, having language in there, making sure that that he is able to have access at all times in and out of his property and be coordinated at any times where it might be restricted. So hopefully we can alleviate any kind of, concerns he has as far as the project going forward. But yeah, that is where the progress is at right there. Still looking at the 27 construction season for letting. So the costs, we have seen a little bit of an increase in our cost estimate on it. We do have the ability to access a little more of the raise grant funds, I believe. We have indicated that, a couple months back that the costs are a little bit more than what we were thinking, and had it re-estimated for the grant purposes, but we'll have to see if we can have a little bit more of it compensated through that grant. So that meeting on the 15th, my schedule has changed, so I will be there.
I still will not.
Still will not, okay. I'll just plan on being there.
Paul sent me I think there's 10 requests for Hunger Canyons, because I am now on the scoring committee. So,
okay.
So I would have had to stay late. I can't ride with you anymore. I told Paul, I said, that's gonna be the biggest bummer. As I said, I enjoy always just riding with Ben and Tim down there and back. And, so, yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the most requests they've ever had for a quarterly meeting is 10 requests from, seemed like Montgomery County or Mills County and some other county each had maybe 3 or 4 requests.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know, I want to bring up that Keith's, deal there. I'll raise that to Paul when I'm down there.
so as far as local is concerned,
Yeah,
have you guys?
we talked about that afterwards last.
I did want to grab a couple of you, drive up, we did put some stakes out.
Okay.
And if you couple, got a little bit of time after board meeting here, we'd love to
Today?
just go up and yeah.
I can go.
And show what we got going on.
All right,
So,
yep, I saw you with your big plans out.
I want to give that
last
to
week.
you. Came to me, but I think
I'll
I'll look at it.
Oh, sure, got one of these too. So.
Okay, all right, you can throw that away.
Sounds good. That's all I got.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Ben.
You guys just want stuff down in the office.
So you're going, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, Louise demanded us in Deloitte anyway, so
What's that?
Louise demanded our presence in Deloitte after the meeting anyway.
Okay,
I don't have to work this time. I'm just going up.
okay,
I got time to screw around.
very good. We'll move on to, I guess, just letting everyone know we're having no board meeting on July 21st.
Yeah,
That is the county fair, must be the opening.
yeah, it's opening day.
It's county on a Wednesday, it used to be on a Wednesday all the time, didn't it?
I'll be working. I'll be getting back from New Orleans. Annual conference.
So it's opening on a Tuesday this year?
Yep.
Fair?
Yeah, should we, and there's a no claims, it's a no claims Tuesday, so we can make that work.
And Louise usually gets the burgers or dogs or whatever we're grilling.
Yep, that's all taken care of,
Yeah.
She
I
does
guess.
cookies and water.
Yeah.
Does it all.
So, I mean, it is an action, should we take official action?
Sure.
Being as it was not,
It's not part of our 5.
yeah, no.
We were
established
scheduled,
all our meeting dates back.
right, back in January, we
so
established all our
should-
meeting dates and that
should
was a
take-
meeting date, so we should have a
take
motion
action
to
to-
approve that we're not having a meeting on the 21st.
Due to the
County
company day
fair.
of the county fair, and our presence is needed there, so.
That sounds like a good motion, Kyle.
I will make that motion.
Just
Second that
great
motion.
motion.
Okay, second by Gene. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
We'll still be working.
We'll move on to the, as far as
You won't get off.
official action that I talked last week, it came to our attention when we did a meeting with the employees that we didn't have the option to offer those AFLEC, if you want to call them that, type policies that wasn't officially approved, I guess, by the board. And so I got a hold of Melissa with Holmes Murphy, and she got a hold of Hartford, and Hartford said, yes, we do have time yet to add those. And so all it's going to require is a motion from the board, approval from the board, and then I'll send that on to Melissa. And she said she just couldn't take my word for it.
Got it.
But so that's just official action that we need, stating that we would like to add those. And if you remember right, if we add, I think 2 of those, it would reduce our cost to Hartford on our long-term disability and our life insurance policies by 5%. So it costs us nothing. It only costs the employees if they decide to add these. We don't pay a share of these policies, and so it would reduce our cost by 5% on those others. So I mean, we all were in agreement to that. Evidently, we just didn't have it officially in a motion.
And somehow we need to get the word out to the employees because they've already had their employee
Right.
meetings, that's an add-on. And I think if they have questions concerning that, Amy could probably.
I would think an email from our HR department, which I'll follow up with
Sounds good.
Amy to make sure they get that out, that if there's any, that these are things they could add.
Right.
And if they would like more information, just to contact her directly and she could explain it to them.
I'll make a motion that we add the voluntary insurance lines through the Hartford for our employees to take the benefit of.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Well,
So
roll
just,
call. Yep.
I mean, I thought we were pretty clear today, but we must not have been clear enough.
Well, I thought we were all clear. I mean, when they had the first meeting, Terry actually emailed me and just said, hey, wasn't the board in approval of this? And I said, yeah, without a doubt, we were all in favor of it.
You even had the date that we approved it.
Right. And so
Lost in translation.
that's what I think.
There was something
Unfortunately,
about an email, but did anybody ever come up with an?
well,
email?
I got an email from Melissa she sent an email to Amy and to Terry and just said, here's what kind of a recap of what happened on that day of April 14th, I believe, when Holmes Murphy was here. And that email just said that, hey, they decided to do this with insurance rates. They decided to do this with county share. And the last thing that she stated, she didn't have the word decision in there or decided. And so I can see, I guess, how when I first read it, I was like, well, it looks like we approved it. And then when you read it really closely and it doesn't say decided or made a decision on it, was like, I wish that Terry or Amy would have followed up with Holmes Murphy or followed up with us and say, didn't you guys approve this? Type of thing. But if you look at the motion that we made on April 14th, it was just the approval. It didn't specifically name these hospital indemnity, critical illness, and accident coverage. It did not include those specifically.
Okay, well, we've got a motion out there.
In the
to
motion.
Include it in.
And so this motion will include those. And so I don't know, yeah, it was an oversight, a miscommunication between Melissa, Terry, and Amy, or what? But
Good
let's
news
just
is
clean
we
it
have
up.
time
good
to
news
fix it.
is, right, we can fix it,
Yep,
we
no
can get it
harm.
done, and we
No
can still
harm.
offer it to everybody.
Right, we got it. Motion?
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second, any further discussion?
No, I just, like I said, follow up with HR and maybe
Yep.
the department heads know that if their employees are
Yep.
interested.
I'll follow up
give
with
them a
Amy
little-
before I leave.
Perfect.
Give them extra time
Is
to
available.
take the chance to get the paperwork filled out, because they missed the open enrollment
Right.
meetings that,
Excellent.
Any further discussion? Roll call in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Move on to citizens input. Anything from our reporter that would know? Anybody in Zoom? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Gene, second by Ty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
All right.
16th of June, we're off to, right?
Yes.
Yes.